All right, welcome back to Weekly Classes Quarter 2, Week 6. Bounce with me, bounce with me. Today we are going to be discussing and experimenting with reference coordinate systems and basic animation concepts in Autodesk 3D Studio Max. If you hear a little extra noise today, it's because I'm not recording in my normal spot and my son is blowing up stuff in the other room. So hopefully you can't hear it, but if you can, or if anything crazy goes on, you know why. So, moving right along. Today we are going to use this file, and it's called Ref Chord System Max. You can download that in the show notes as normal underneath the video. Today we are going to talk about reference coordinate systems. Now, reference coordinate systems are how we interact with the world. Okay, so whenever we hit the W key, we have our lovely little widget that's added down there. Mine, I increased the size of mine so we could see it a little bit easier today. So this, and you can do that with a plus and minus in case you ever wonder, on the number line. Anyway, so I increased mine. You don't have to increase yours. So I went ahead and also created this little mesh so we could have an idea of where everything's pointing. So we've got this object, and we've got, when you start up 3D Studio Max, your reference coordinate system is shown up here. All right, it says right now reference coordinate system. If you highlight over this, I know you guys can't see it because of the way this capture recording software doesn't quite show it. But if you hover over this long enough, you'll get reference coordinate system. Now, if you click on that, you get a pull-down menu. And there's a whole bunch of options. Okay, the default when you open up 3D Studio is View. Now, the view reference coordinate system basically says that in any orthographic view, so like the front view, that Y is up. All right, if the front view, Y is up and X is to the right, and Z is supposed to be straightforward. All right, so front. Now, if I go to the left view, Y is still up, X is still to the right, and Z is still straightforward. I don't actually know why this is the default reference coordinate system because I think it's confusing. You can actually see the world reference coordinate system down here where Z is up, Y is left, and X is straightforward. So in the front view, I have this set up perfectly, and you can see it's actually built so it's in the front view. If I turn this, hit perspective so it doesn't hurt your brain, you can see this coordinate system matches my teapot. Okay, where in this case our X is going forward. Now this changes from well, you can change this by turning the teapot, that's theoretically, but for now we're going to use my teapot with red going forward. Now, if in the world, the next pull down is one that's actually useful. All right, in the pull down, next one we're going to talk about is world. The world space is what it looks like in perspective mode. And so if you hit front, Z is up, X is to the right. If you hit left, Z is still up, green is to, well, Y is to the left, because that's how it is in the world. Okay? Our widgets work like this. Okay? Now, up until now, this seems kind of superfluous. Like, why do we actually have all this stuff? What's the big deal? Well, what really is the big deal is how we interact with our objects. In world space, I know that my widget will always be set so Z is up. Okay, no matter how I rotate my object, if I hit Z, if I go back to world, Z is going to go straight up. I just undid that. If I rotate it in some wacky way, like this, and then I go back to my select and move tool, Z is still going to be up, and the widget will always be facing the right direction. Now, if I set this to local, which is our next most important system, our next most important system is local. So what local does is it makes each object move along its own internal system. So, like I said, right now Z is up for my teapot. If I rotate this and I go back to move, Z is up according to my teapot. This is really, really helpful in animation. And that's really what we're getting into right now. So notice every time I change this, it changes how this behaves. Now there's a whole bunch of options through here. As a matter of fact, I made a little slideshow that sort of goes through some of the options. So let's see, F5. Oh, we already did that one. Okay, so the view is the default for 3DS. It fakes Y up and Z to the right, or Z out and X right for all orthographic views. So this is in order of importance. So view is the default and it fakes Y up, Z out, and X right. World keeps a consistent orientation no matter what. The world coordinates are constant. The widgets never rotate. Local is the next most important system. It uses the object's local coordinate system. The widgets rotate to the correspond with the selected object. So if you rotate your teapot, Z is still going to be up for your teapot. Then we have screen, which rotates the widget to align with the active viewport, and parent. Those are the other two that you should know. Alright, so let me get a little preview of later. Alright, so with this system, it's really actually very, very nice because right now, if I rotate this object, right, if I hit E and rotate this, and then I go back to the world to move it, I want to move it along, let's pretend this is my spaceship teapot. I want it to move this way. I can do that by moving it diagonally, but see how it doesn't go in a straight line. I can't make it go perfectly in a straight line. However, if I change the coordinates to local, you see the widget changes, so I can make it perfectly go in a straight line. Right? Now, the cool part is you can swap back and forth whenever you want. So I changed my mind. I want to go to screen. Screen moves the widget according to wherever you are. See how when I move the screen, Y is always going to go up on the screen. Now, up on the screen could be forward. Like that. See? That's the way it was going. When I let go, it automatically positions itself. So screen is interesting and it's easy to understand, but I don't see how it's really useful. Let's see, and then the other one you could talk about is grid. Grid is for working off of a grid. So if we create another, let's create a box using auto grid. See how auto grid gives you a local rotation for the normal of the face that you're looking at. So if this is a planet and you want to create little box people, you can create box people that stand right on your planet by using the grid auto grid function. Right? Gravity's weird here. They stick wherever they want. Okay, so see how everywhere it automatically sort of adjusts and aligns so that it sticks to the face that it's on. Anyway, if you want to align towards grid, that's basically how that system works. The grid alignment will allow you to move from there. So if I grab an object, it should theoretically let me move along that grid. It doesn't seem to be doing it. I, once again, have never really used that. I haven't used that. Gimbal has something with the Euler rotation system. It's a lot like local, but it's needed for that, and also parent. If you're using, if you're parenting an object to another object, you would use parent in order to move something. So let's say you've got a table. All right, I've got a table. See, it's a table. I've got a teapot, and my teapot is going to, I need to go by local, rotate it back to where it was. Notice I'm using angle snap, so this thing is relatively easy to work with. All right, so now I'm going to set it there on the table. Cool. Now, highlight those and delete them. So I've got my teapot on the table. If I select this object and link it to the table, if I move the table, teapot moves with it. If I want to use the rotation of the table, but I'm still in world view, in world coordinate system, I've got a Z up here. But, so if I rotate this, wacky. If I grab this and instead of world I use parent, you'll see that it rotates toward the table. Okay, even if this is rotated. So if I rotate like this and then I want to move it, it still has my Z up according to where the table is. All right. Once again, I haven't used this, although this is more easily understandable. It's basically like saying, okay, the local rotation or the local world, local positioning reference coordinates of the table are what will be up for my teapot. So, you know, there's functions there that I think we could all maybe think of something that you could use it with. All right, so now let's actually just go way back to where we started. All right, good. So next, so that's the basics on rotations, reference coordinate system. So next what we're going to do is we're actually going to open a new file. We are going to create a bouncing ball. I'm not going to save my changes here. And the reason we're going to create a bouncing ball is because now that we know a little bit about these settings, we're going to actually use them a little bit, as well as create a system where we have a bouncing ball. All right. So first things first, to understand how we're going to use this bounce, make this ball bounce, is we are going to need to understand this system down here. This is the track bar. This area down here is called the track bar. The track bar has a timeline, which is right here. If you cannot see your timeline, that's okay. Don't freak out. Go ahead and come up here to Customize, go to Show UI, and then make sure Show Track Bar. It should be here, or maybe it's over here. Anyway, under Show UI, Show Track Bar. If it's hidden, you can show it. Customize, Show UI, Show Track Bar. All right. Also, while I'm here, we never use this tool because if we want to get the quad view up, we just hold Alt and hit W. And then if we want to look at another window, we do that. Or we just use the hotkeys like F, T, or left, L. So all of those work a lot better than this. So I'm actually going to right-click on this and get rid of the viewport layout tabs. And it's going to give us just a little more screen space. All right, cool. So remember that's a hot tip to get another, you know, 1/4 inch, I guess, of space. And that could be, you know, the difference between life and death. Not really. Okay, so we've got our track bar, we've got our timeline on our track bar, and we've got a bunch of buttons down here. This is your information bar, okay? And over here, these are your type-ins. You already know your transform type-ins. This section down here is your absolute mode transform type-in, or if you've clicked on it, it's your offset mode transform type-in. In absolute, in world position, if you hit W, all right, you can type in 100, and it moves by 100 in absolute. All right, absolute. If you click on it, it's offsetting wherever it is. So if I wanted to move 25 units more this way on X, which is red, if I want to move 25 units more, I just type in 25 because I want it to move 25 more. Now I started with 100, and then I moved it 25 more. So if I click on this, it should be 125, which it is. So down here, the difference between this and this is the offset of the object. All right. So once again, these are your transform type-ins, and they're useful. Here's your grid information. Over here is what we're going to be using a lot of today. These are your animation tools down here. This this is your tape deck sort of thing where you go rewind all the way to the beginning of your track. You can go to a previous frame, you can play your animation, and you can go to your next frame or go to the end. All right. You can also click and drag on your timeline and scrub through. All right, go ahead and make sure you're pausing the video as we go through this so that you know what to do. You can actually pause the video, go check it out, scrub this thing along. You should actually have this video, this file to play with if you want it. You don't have to have it, but if you want it, you can mess with it. So now let's see. The two setups we need to talk about is how we actually animate using keyframes. All right. To bounce this ball, we need to think about where it's going to start and then where it's going to end. Alright, so from the front, I'm actually going to move this ball so it's sitting roughly where it is. So it's touching the bottom. Okay? Now, I'm going to take my timeline, make sure it's all the way at 0. My 0 timeline, I'm going to go ahead and move this up. I don't know, let's move it up to the top of my pink background here. Now that it's set to my pink background, I can create a keyframe by going over here under Set Key, toggle Set Key mode. And when you click on this, the whole screen turns red. There's two buttons. There's Auto Key, which is dark red, and Set Key, which is a little bit lighter red. Set Key is safer than Auto Key, but it's a little bit slower. But we're going to start out being safe. So we're going to do the Set Key. We're going to grab Set Key, make sure you get red, and now we're going to drag our timeline over all the way to 0, and we are going to press this key, which is Set Keys. Boom. You'll notice if you look really, really close, you can see there's a little 3-colored box down here in our timeline. And if we scrub, nothing happens. Well, that's kind of good. What we've done is we've created a keyframe, a position for our ball, right, that says our ball is at this position, it's at this scale, so it's this size, it's this scale, it's this rotation. All of this is set in this keyframe point. All right, now I want this ball to bounce all the way back up where it started, which isn't very realistic, but that's not what we're worried about today. So I'm going to drag this timeline all the way to the end at frame 100 and then create a new frame. All right, hit the Set Key button. All right, so now that that's set, if I scrub back and forth, well, still nothing happens. That's because we basically said our ball is here, and then 100 frames later, it's here. So the computer says, okay, I need to get the ball to there. It's already there, so it doesn't have to move at all. What we need to do now is offset the position. So we're going to go to frame 50, drag the ball down so it's a little bit of the way through past 0. So here's our main line. So I'm putting it so that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4th line, just to be consistent or specific. Now if I move my frame, it pops back to where it was. You see that? So if I put it down here and then I move it, it pops back because the computer says no, there's no keyframe there, you didn't do anything, so I move it where it needs to be. So I need to move it down first, then I need to set a frame. Okay, so set a frame once you move the ball down a bit. Boom. Now, when you scrub along the timeline now, it actually should move. Let's see. All right, there it goes. So now it moves down and moves up. You can play the animation over here by hitting play animation. Down and up. That does not look very realistic. It looks like someone painting a fence. Right, up and down. Okay, so that's kind of not how a ball bounces, right? A ball bounces by coming down fast and up fast, and then gravity starts pulling on it and it slows down, and then it starts pulling the other way, and then it goes fast, and then it goes up fast and slow, boing, boing, boing. So we need to do that. So what we need to do is we need it to go faster down. Okay, so what we can do is we can say, all right, around frame 40, I want it to actually be, I want it to go slow through here, but I want it to go fast through there. All right, so that means I can put a frame, let's go to frame 25. All right, I'm going to move it up a little bit. Hit a keyframe. You can also press the K button for keyframe. All right, let's see. Let's see how that looks. Let's see if it falls better. It's a little better. Probably not where I want it to be. I'd say it needs to come down more, right? Let's see. So now it's boing. Maybe not. Maybe it needs to come up a little more. Let's do up a little more. There. Let's see how that looks. And boing. Alright, cool. That's not great, but it's okay. So let's go to frame 75. And let's go ahead and move it up some. And set a keyframe by pressing the K key. And play it. Slow. Boing. slow, fast, fast, slow, fast, fast. Now, it still doesn't look very good, does it? Well, that's where we actually can do a lot more. Okay, we can actually go into the system called the mini curve editor. So we're going to click on that. When we click on that, we actually get access to what's called animation curves. Now, everything in animation should be smooth. A ball, when it bounces, and you can actually watch, this is its Z rotation. You can see the sphere, right? We're looking at position, and then there's our X position. It doesn't move on the X plane. It doesn't move on the Y plane. It only moves on the Z plane, right? What it should do is go down, hit fast, and come back up. Think of a ball bouncing and come back up. Well, this keyframe down here is not. Balls don't come down and scoop like that. They hit and they bounce. So we need something faster. All right, over here are different tangent settings. So we can actually set this keyframe and set the tangent to fast. If we set it to fast, that's a lot closer to what it looks like when a ball bounces. We can do that, and we can actually highlight these keys, two keys together. We can move them together if we want. You think that'll look real? I don't. I can actually delete them, right? So that it looks kind of like a ball. Doing. Let's see if that looks more real. Ready? Oops. Here we go. I'm going to rewind to the start and hit play. Boing. That looks pretty good near the end. Whole thing's going really slow though. Like too slow. Like weird gravity slow. We can't have that. We can't have that. So let's go ahead and close this curve editor. Now the problem is we've got a ball. Oh, wait a second. Where did my keyframes go? My keyframes disappeared because I selected something else. I must have this selected, or I deselected the ball. You see, everything you work with has its own little key section or keyframe. It has its own timeline. So the ball, you have to actually click on it to see your timeline. Okay? So I can actually go through and highlight these keys in the ball's timeline. And I can turn set key off now since I'm not actually going to be animating right now. I will be animating, but I'm not going to be doing it through that. I'm actually going to highlight these keys at frame 25 that we deleted the Z information out of anyway. I'll actually delete them because we're not using them anyway. So now we've got this cyst. Boing. Alright. Now it sure would be nice if this thing went a lot faster. Boing. It's really slow. So what I want to do is I want to move this so it makes more sense. Let's cut this speed. Let's cut this whole thing in half. Alright. So the way we do that is we can actually highlight multiple keys and then drag them. Alright? If you hold shift, you can copy them, which is a mess. But for now, you can just highlight a key, or actually you can just click on a key and drag it. So I'm going to click and drag this to 25 and this down to 50. Now let's see how that looks. Oh, it freezes at the end. Boing. Then it freezes. It's still maybe not as fast as it should be. How about we lower it again? Let's go from frame 25 to frame 50 and from frame 50 to 30. Let's see how that looks. Oh, there's that big pause again. Let's see. Doing. That looks pretty good, timing wise. Let's go back to the beginning and watch it again. Ready? Boing. Alright, cool. I hope you like my sound effects. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to get rid of all this extra space. Alright? And the way we do that is we can actually do a couple different things. Number one, we can go into time configuration. So click over here in the time configuration mode. And then in here, this is all the different things you need to adjust this. And you will be using this a lot. So we want the start time to remain at 0 because that's where we started. But we want the end time to be around 30, as in like at 30. So I can set the end time to 30, and when I click anywhere else, it automatically does the math that it needs to get to the rest of it. So I could change the length to 60, and then the end time would be at frame 60, and it would tell me how many frames there are. My end time, I wanted to be at 30 because I really only want 30 frames. Alright, well, I guess I get 31 since I'm starting at 0. Alright, so click OK. You'll notice my keyframes are much bigger now, because it sort of makes it so it speeds all the way through. But now if I hit play, it bounces. Boing. And it bounces and it loops. If yours isn't looping, you can actually adjust the looping here. Loop. You can also have it so that it animates in every window. So for instance, I'm going to cancel. If I have it in every window right now, if I play it, it only works in whatever window is active. Right? But if I set this up so it works in all windows, and I hit play, yeah, it's ball bouncing crazy. Other options here are speed. So if you have like a jump kick and you want to really make sure that every single frame looks good, you can actually slow it down so it's quarter speed or half speed. So now we can watch it in quarter speed to make sure everything is looking good. We also have the option to go into views and go show ghosting. Right? Ghosting shows where the ball was, and I've got mine set to 5 frames after, so it's boing, doing. So that shows some options, and you can actually adjust how that how your ghosting is set up under your references. I think under view, no, where is it? Under viewports, yes. So I have ghosting frames at 100, and every 5th frame is going to ghost. But you can adjust this. I think the default is set to 5, like 5 frames or so. So that you can just play with. Once again, take a minute, pause the video, and check it out. Play with some of these settings. Also, try and get the ball to bounce a little better. Right? Let's see. What else could we do to make this ball bounce better? All right. What we could do is we could add a little bit of squash, right? Up until now, when we use this this tool up here, this select and squash, and our scale tool, we've never really used select and squash intentionally. But with animation, it's very, very nice, because what we need is we need it to start squashing, right? We need that ball to squash, and we need it to squash right about the time it hits, all right? So what we need to do is have it so the ball is going to be perfectly circular or spherical. And so we create a keyframe. I want to turn on set key, hit K, and then it's going to hit down here, and I'm going to squash it. Okay, using select and squash. So I'm going to squash it this way. There. All right, left. All right, now I don't want to do it too much. Oops. There, left. I may have to let it go down a little more first. Let's set a keyframe. Actually, let's bring it down a little bit too. Squash it. Alright, let's see here. There we go. Squashing that ball. Alright, cool. Alright, so from the front, and then I hit W and I move it down a little bit. Okay, so there, the ball is squashing. Oops. Alright, so now, whoa, it shrunk. I must have accidentally shrunk it at some point. Whoa, how did that happen? Okay, so let's go back to there. So we've got our bounce. Good. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get this. I'm probably going to have to take this and pull it through a little more, and it will automatically fix it. So now I have got a frame 14. So let's do. We just don't have enough frames, actually. We're just not going fast enough. We're doing 30 frames a second. So it's going to be tough to get this to squash. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a keyframe here, set a keyframe there, and set a keyframe here. Yeah, and then I'm also going to go here, and I'm going to squash this out. Oops. Alright, so I don't know why it's doing that. Very bizarre. It seems to think I'm trying to squash the wrong thing. Do I have snapping on? No. It shrinks it. I don't know why. Bizarre. Alright, very bizarre. That's good. Alright. I'm deleting that because I keep getting a hold of it on accident. Yeah, it's squashing it. All right, cool. Set that keyframe. Hit front. I'll move it down so it's squashing out. All right. Now, we might have to take this, squeeze it over, and this. Let's see how it looks. Boom. W. Set keyframe. All right. We just don't have enough frames. So that's going to be okay. Now for here, because it's going to be reacting to the squash, I'm actually going to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to squish it out a little bit and set the keyframe like that. Okay. So now it goes boing. You can see it squash in action. Now, let's see if that looks better. All right, because ultimately, that's what we care about. We want it to look good. Now remember, it's on super slow mode, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put it back up to full speed. Now let's see if it looks good. Let's hope it does. Are you ready? I think I'm ready. Boing, boing. It's really smashing. It's not quite so smooth. I guess if we should probably bump it up to like 60 frames a second and see how that looks. We can actually do that in here. Okay, we can set the frames to custom 60 frames a second. Click OK. And what it does is now we have 60 frames. Our animation has automatically been restretched. So you can see it. So it's down. We actually might be able to move some of these frames around a little bit. Hit W. Alright. So that's going to be, let's see. I don't want that to happen yet. We're going to have to move this frame and delete it. Yes. No. Take this frame and move it here. Move it down a little bit. Mark. Take this and move it up. There. Boing. Boing. Yeah, see how it reacts by squishing through? Boing. It'd be great if this was a little stretchier. Set the keyframe. Boing. I adjusted the total object instead of adjusting the keyframe like I was supposed to. That's why it got all messed up. Anyway, what I want you to do is take some time now and see if you can get this ball to bounce the proper way. Alright, it comes down, it squashes out, and then it sort of squishes back in as it comes back up. Hopefully you'll be able to get it so it looks really good. Alright, you might need to speed it up so it's less than a second. You might want to break it down so it's like 3/4 of a second. But yeah, so the rest of today I want you to just sort of play with this bouncing ball. Don't forget you can go into your keyframe editor and actually look at what's going on here. It's sort of the same situation. We want, when it comes to the squashing and the rotation, let me scroll down. Under scale, this is where our scale numbers are for how it squashes and stretches. So you can come in here and adjust that. Once again, you're going to be looking at fast. You want to probably turn these to fast so that they're reacting quickly. That's probably going to make it look a lot better. Boing. There you go. You can watch it as you do it. So yeah, make it look good. Give it a shot. And then I'll be around to see how you're doing. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me. And that's that. If you're watching this online and you've never taken my class, feel free to leave a comment and see if you're having any trouble. I'll comment back and see if I can help you. And I think that's it for day 1. So tomorrow we are going to make a character super quick. We're going to make it speedy quick, and then on day 3 we're going to start getting that character walking. So enjoy the day, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.